Hey friends, Katie here. I'm dropping in to let you know that for the month of May, we're doing something a little bit different on our regular feed. Instead of reviewing books that you know and love, we'll be posting an interview in 2 parts. Liz and I have been doing this podcast for over a year now, and we figured that it's long past time to tell you a little bit more about us. We hope you enjoy the conversation, but if you're still craving our regular content, head over to Patreon, where we'll be releasing our final 2 episodes of Iron Flame. Now, on to the show. Okay, how are we going to intro these interviews?
I just thought of that as I was clicking. I was like, oh fuck.
We're so good at this.
I mean, okay, so I feel like it's been almost a year of this podcast, and our listeners probably got a little bit of a taste of who we are and when we talk, but they don't really know us. So I want you to get to know us.
Yeah, I agree. Like we just kind of jumped right into the episodes, and we always had the intention to do the interview part, but we just never really got to it.
Yeah,
and
we definitely meant to do this months ago.
Yeah, like this time last year, we meant to do it and then drop it close to when we launched, but here we are.
But here we are, so hopefully you like us by now and you just want to know a little bit more about us.
Yeah, so I feel like we should just jump into it.
Yeah, I think let's just go.
Okay,
yeah.
So I'm going to start by asking you.
Okay.
What's your name, girl? What's your sign?
I think you are a friend of mine. All right. Well, my name is Elizabeth, but no one calls me Elizabeth. I go by Liz or Lizzie. Really, only 2 people in my life call me Liz, so everyone else could just call me Lizzie and fuck off with that. It's a special reserved name.
That's true. I am one of the only people in your lives that calls you Liz, which is weird. Who's the other person?
Liam actually calls me Liz.
Oh, that's so weird. Okay.
I know, and I don't know
everybody
why.
in this podcast calls you Liz.
Which is fine, because I do introduce myself as Liz here. It's okay, but like no one else calls me Liz.
No.
There was a phase where I was like, I'm gonna go by Liz because it's more professional than Lizzie, and I just physically could not introduce myself as Liz. I'm just like, it's Lizzie.
I feel like that's so much closer to like your like outward persona.
It definitely is. Which maybe that's why you call me Liz, because you know my inward persona.
Well, I feel like you have, I don't know. I feel like you and I are alike in this, where like you have this outward, like happy-go-lucky, a little bit like more naive like person. And then on the inside, you have an adult that's like running the show.
That is so true. I do say that, where I have like the opposite of a resting bitch face, where I have like a resting bubble face, but like it's not accurate. It's not a true representation.
I don't think so. I think you only have a resting bubble face if you know someone's looking at you. If you know, if you don't think anybody's paying attention, your RBF is strong.
Is it really? That's amazing.
Yeah. Because remember, before we were friends in high school, we both didn't want to talk to each other because we thought the other one was a bitch.
I thought you were so mean.
I was so intimidated by you.
Right. Like, and literally that my whole opinion of you was just based on your resting bitch face. Because it looked so scary. I was like, oh, that girl's not going to like me at all.
She's got some scary dog privilege over there. I'm all set over here.
I will say that sometimes I feel like if someone watched me for a day, I would look like a psychopath, because like I will smile, have a whole conversation, and turn around and just like dead face.
Yeah, no, 100%. Especially like my whole job, we'll get to it later in the interview, but like my whole job is interacting with people, right? Yes. So like I'll be on a meeting or in a meeting, and as soon as I leave, I just like my face drops, and I'm just like, oh God, that feels so good to not have any of the muscles in my face tense at all.
Yes, it feels so good. But I know to the outside world, it's like, whoa,
that is a big old mask you got there.
Whatever.
Okay,
right,
Paris.
Well, I went off on my name. So before we get into the sign, who are you?
So my name is, I similarly, Catherine, but I go by Katie a lot. Actually, it's getting more and more even, because I have started going by Catherine professionally. So
love that.
Like I go by Katie personally, Catherine professionally. And the reason I go by Catherine professionally is because I used to work at a place where there were like 4,700 Katies, and I was not going to be like Katie, first initial of my last name. So I'm like, no, my name's Catherine. Thank you.
Catherine.
There's only one of me.
I feel like that super suits your professional persona as well. Like when I've been at your house and you have work meetings, like you're Catherine. Like you are not Katie.
Yeah. So like my RBF is my personality at work.
Yeah, which it should be. It's badass.
Yeah. I've had people tell me that like the way that I am at work is it needs like the warmth of who I am when I start a meeting, where I'm just like, hey guys, how was everybody's weekend? Anybody got like a dad joke? And then like straight into business. They're like, if you didn't do that, I would be so much more intimidated.
That is so funny.
It's like,
It's good that you do that. You're like, yes,
Yeah.
well, thank you. Thank you.
That's emotional maturity. What can I say?
I just suck it.
Anyway, what's your sign?
I'm an Aries, and okay, I am a bit witchy and think that horoscopes have some truth to them, and I think an Aries is pretty accurate for who I am.
Yeah.
I can have a pretty short fuse if I am triggered. I am fiery. Whenever I've read the things about an Aries, I was like, okay, yeah, this is moi.
It me.
It me. Who are
That's
you?
interesting. I'm a Pisces, and I identify less with my sign, mostly because like there's like the characterization of Pisces as like being like this kind of creative and like woo-woo, dreamy, like escapist kind of personality.
Oh,
And
that's
I'm not
you.
that at all.
You are highly creative. Like, you have that creative
Yes.
side for sure.
But I'm a lot less woo-woo, right? Like there are some like traits of a Pisces, like they're like an idealist. They have like a strong like inner strength to them. Compassionate, romantic, obviously. This is
Yes.
the podcast that we have.
Yes, those are also true.
Spiritual seekers, and I think that's where like the witchy side comes in for me. But yeah, like I'm kind of I kind of view myself as like an atypical Pisces.
Yeah, because there's some things in here, like I just looked it up, like Pisces can easily become swallowed by emotions. Like, that's not you at all.
No.
Like, you're very even keel.
But I mean, I could also argue that that's probably having to do with some of my own childhood trauma. But
Generational trauma.
yeah, so if you look up like the Pisces like characterization for like my birthday, I do align with that. So it's more like relying on psychic awareness to guide your actions. So you know, you're much more grounded than maybe some of your other Pisces peers. I identify with that.
Are you a cusp? Like, where does Pisces switch into?
I am a cusp. So Pisces goes to the 20th and I'm the 18th.
Okay, so what comes after Pisces?
I think it's Aries.
That's obviously, I could have figured that out because my birthday is April 1st.
What comes after
And it's March 21st to April 19th. It's Aries. I'm stupid. It's right in front of me.
Okay. It's like,
It's me. Hit me.
you're so pretty.
That's, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Bringing in some of that. Like, okay, when I read the Aries stuff, it's me.
You're solidly Aries. Like,
I'm
you're
just
right in the middle.
I am. Like, even the, like, little personality traits. So I'm just gonna, strengths, courageous, determined, confident, enthusiastic, optimist, honest, and passionate. Some of those. But the weaknesses: impatient, moody, short-tempered, impulsive, aggressive. Aries.
Yeah, girl.
Aries likes comfortable clothes, taking on leadership roles, physical challenges in individual sports, and dislikes inactivity, delays, and work that does not use their talents.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Me.
It's you. Yeah, you're an Aries.
And I will say, so, like, those people, like, you can do whatever you want with, like, horoscopes and zodiac, but I do think it's really interesting. And now thinking of you and Pisces being so close to Aries, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Yeah.
a lot of your strengths and a lot of your weaknesses resonate with me too, right? Like,
Yes.
especially like doesn't like to do work that doesn't resonate with their strengths. Like, oof, it could not be me.
Right. Like, nope, that's not me at all.
No.
Okay. Wow. I feel really attacked right now.
Do you want to feel more attacked? What's your Myers-Briggs?
Okay. First, let me just read this line to you about Aries being in love. They may shower their loved one with affection, sometimes excessively, while forgetting to check the information they receive in return.
Oh, girl, the library was just opened on a weekend.
They can become addicted to pleasures of the flesh and sexual encounters.
Wow!
My Myers-Briggs.
I'll just see myself out.
just yoink. Myers-Briggs is INTJ.
Samesies.
I love that they're the same. So what is that? That is intuitive.
It is introverted, intuitive thinking, and judging.
The judging always makes me kind of like, I feel judged.
Well,
I know that's not what it means, but
it's judging versus prospecting, and it's really like the tactics around like how you live your life. So like prospecting, like figuring things out as you go, and judging, like making things the way they ought to be. So kind of the difference between like wabi-sabi and like planning, kind of.
I love to plan.
So we're both INTJ. That's the architect for the 16 personalities.
It's also pretty rare, isn't it?
I think so.
About 2.1% of the population have INTJ.
Yeah, it's so INTJ to feel special by that, because I love the fuck out of that.
I know, I want to feel special. The rarity is primarily because of their unique combination of traits, which can sometimes be seen as contradictory.
Yeah, I feel that.
You know, I think that is the root of many of my problems.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so one of the things that drives architects is there's this kind of thirst for knowledge to make things make sense, which you might see come out in this podcast a little bit.
It's Katie's introduction to herself.
Yeah, so look.
Make it make sense.
I do think it's interesting that, like, we as INTJs found each other, and then also my husband is an INTJ, so it feels like I'm collecting them around me.
You are, because there's only 2% of us, and you're just like, yes,
I found you.
I found you. Now I want to know what like the people in my life are. Jordan's definitely not. He's never taken it, but it's just not him.
No, definitely not. So yeah, I mean, let's see. Strengths for INTJ: rational, informed, independent, determined, curious, original. Weaknesses: arrogant, dismissive of emotions, overly critical, combative, socially clueless. Yeah.
The overly critical. So just going to call out our intros. That is my introduction in this podcast. I don't think we're socially clueless. I think we're pretty good socially.
Well, so I think you and I have trained ourselves to not be socially clueless. But like growing up, sure. I did not know how to have a conversation with somebody, like passing them in the hallway.
That's true. And like, sometimes I do still struggle with that.
Like, I didn't understand that when you see somebody that you know, like in a grocery store or at work, and they say, "Hey, how are you?" Like, you're going in opposite directions. You don't have to stop and like talk to them.
Yeah, that is exactly what I was just thinking of, because it's don't ask me a question if you don't want an answer.
Right. Everybody else finds that perfectly like socially acceptable.
I think it's weird. So this line made me think of something that I wanted to tell you. When they do find like-minded individuals who appreciate their intensity and depth of thought, INTJs form profound and intellectually stimulating relationships that they deeply treasure. When I was talking to my mom about everything in my life recently, she said something basically like, "This is why I always thought that Katie would be the perfect partner for you if you were attracted to women."
I mean, it's true, though.
It's so true. Like, it is so true.
You gotta find yourself an INTJ, girl.
I know, I do. Well, and what I told her, I was like, well, that's why she's my soulmate. Like,
yeah.
I gotta find an INTJ. All right, so what I'm gonna start doing, if I start dating, I'm just gonna give people 16 personalities.
I need you to take this first before we go on a second date.
Before we go any farther. Thank you. So, continued similarity. What's your Hogwarts house?
Mine is Slytherin. What's yours?
Also Slytherin.
Oh my god.
Shocking.
I had no idea.
Which, if you look up, like the personality traits of Slytherins, it's very similar to like INTJ.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I feel like Slytherins get a bad rap, but it's just because of the books. Like all the bad guys were Slytherins. So like
All the bad guys were Slytherin.
yeah, I mean I'm a proud Slytherin.
I'm a proud Slytherin.
Not like a blood purity kind of way, but like a characteristics of being driven and like
Yes, because the characters
That's the other
is
word.
like ambitious, cunning,
Ambitious, thank
resourceful.
you.
Yes.
yes.
Shrewd, determined.
Yeah,
I am proud of all of those things.
100%. Yeah. And I also love the trope of like getting your designated Hufflepuff.
Just gonna say that. Your emotional support Hufflepuff.
Yeah. Which is weird. So like my husband is INTJ. We are so similar in a lot of ways. He is my designated Hufflepuff.
So is Jordan. Jordan is 100% a Hufflepuff. He's not a particularly good finder, though.
Well, no, I think that's the weaponized incompetency thing though.
Yeah. I use that all the time, and like people, that has gone so out of the zeitgeist of Harry Potter references, and it makes me a little sad.
Yeah. I feel like Harry Potter had its moment and is getting further and further away from that moment the older the millennials get.
Which is fine. I'm still gonna stick with they're incredibly good finders.
Yeah.
But I am a proud Slytherin.
Same.
Ugh.
So what do you do for work outside of this podcast?
I am a teacher. I teach at the college level in the psychology department. And I love it so much. I do want to share some like irony of my life. I started college at the school I teach at now as an education major, and I hated the major. So I dropped the major. And now
And here we are.
I am an educator at the very school where I rejected the education major.
But I would argue that it was always your dream to be a professor type.
It was. I think I didn't like the education department or program because it was for like early and secondary education. And I
Right.
wanted to do like academia.
Yeah, very different things.
I don't want to talk to children. Even though I spent the last like 12 years of my life working with children.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very different thing though.
Oh, it's so different. It's so different. I have asked you this question so many times and I cannot retain the answer. What do you do for work, Katie?
Yeah, I mean, so I usually give people one of two answers when they ask this question because nobody wants to talk about what I do for work. And I don't, including myself, right? So one of my two answers is I work in tech, and the other one is I'm a data scientist. And neither of which are particularly accurate, right? Because when you say I work in tech, you get this like,
You make apps or something.
right, you make apps, or like you're in the Matrix all the time, or like you work for like Google or Amazon, and I don't work for either of those companies. I would never.
I would never.
And saying that I am a data scientist is also no longer true because I actually am in leadership now. So I don't do any of the sciencey things that I used to do.
You make sure other people do the sciencey things correctly.
Right. So, I mean, I work in the data science space and I lead a team of people. That's what I do. And I find that very rewarding. I really enjoy leading people and developing their skill sets and then setting them free to either be successful on a team that I run or somebody else's team. So yeah, I mean, it's it's a demanding job and I don't want to do it forever, but it is very rewarding right now.
I do love when you talk about your work, even though like I do my best to understand what you do, and I promise I try. Okay, so like I've seen the graphs and I've heard your meetings. Like I get what you do. I just can't explain it to anyone else. But I do love watching you talk about it because it is very clearly so rewarding, and that makes me so happy for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, especially coming back after the break, like I took 3 weeks off for Christmas and like burnout is a real thing, but I really do genuinely enjoy my job. Like I like the people I work with. I like the work that I do. I like feeling like one of the things, INTJ, hi, you have to feel important in your role.
Yes.
I feel important and valued in my role, and I get a lot of autonomy in my role. And I feel like I have a lot of responsibility. Like at this point, almost feel personally responsible for over 40 people.
Damn.
And that's daunting and exciting to me all at the same time. So yeah, I mean, like my day-to-day probably looks a lot similar to like what your leadership day-to-day looks like. Like it's relationship building more than anything else.
A lot of like individual meetings and support and building wherever they're trying to go and do and achieve.
Right. Which is not my my natural state. So like being an INTJ, I'm sure you get this teaching, like I am not extroverted. That is not where I get my energy from.
No, I am exhausted at the end of the day. And I use that, I'll tell students that a lot because I will get students when we do presentations and they're like, I have social anxiety. Can I just present privately? I'm like, bitch, I have social anxiety. No, you're going to present publicly. I do this every day. No one likes it.
I'm not dead. Like, I'm not wetting myself up here.
Right, like, it's fine, and you're going to get better at it if you do it.
Right, exactly. Oh my gosh. I remember early in my career, I used to get, like, so much adrenaline from presenting in front of people, even just virtually. Yes. It was nuts.
Because it's terrifying.
Yeah.
I have realized that when I get nervous now, I default to really awkward jokes, and it doesn't help. And so, for example, I only get nervous in the classroom when, like, my students are not engaging. So, like, if I ask a question and they just stare at me, that makes me uncomfortable.
Right.
So I'm like,
No, I get that.
Like, that happened to me the other day in class, and I don't know if this happens to you in your job. It probably does. Where, like, and sometimes you just go into like autopilot where like you're not really listening to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I like did part of a lecture and then I posed a question and they all just stared at me. And I was like, I couldn't even tell you what I just said for the last 10 minutes. So like, did it make sense? I don't know.
I'll do that too, and I'll call people out on it. I'll be like, oh man, not all at once. Man, the energy in this room is awesome this morning.
I need to be better at that because I'm just like, well, fuck me, I guess.
Or like when you introduce a concept and like you end and it's like, okay, do you have any questions on that before we move on? Like that kind of thing.
Yes.
And you get like the stunts, like, so it's not like a targeted question that you're expecting an answer. If I don't get any responses, I'll be like, stunned silence. That's what I go for. Awesome. Moving on.
Oh my God. I'm going to use that this week. That is amazing. Yeah, I'm going to use that.
So the next question is, who lives in your house? We can skip this if you don't want to talk about it.
So, I mean, listen, I am now a public figure, I suppose, and what are secrets?
I think public is a loose term.
It's a very loose term. There's going to be like 4 people who hear this.
Yeah.
Maybe someday people will go back and listen, though.
Maybe.
I was looking at this question, and I was like, fuck. I was like, I don't know. Currently, I live with a friend who's a coworker. I'm not going to say her name because, like, I don't know if she wants her name in the world. And her cat, Molly. I'm going to say her cat's name because who's going to steal her identity? I have mentioned on this podcast that I am married. I do have a wonderful husband named Jordan. And, you know, marriage is hard. So currently I live with a woman. That sounded bad.
That sounded like not what you mean.
Okay. Currently I live with a roommate. We are taking some space. Yes. Yeah.
Look, marriage is hard. Different seasons of your life.
Yeah, and it's all right. And I am so very grateful for my roommate.
There you go.
Yeah. Katie, who lives in your house?
So I have 2 beings in my house right now. One of them is my husband, my designated Hufflepuff INTJ collaborator. His name is James, and I love him very much. And the other is my dog, Yogi. We actually got Yogi together like 6 months into our relationship.
Yeah, like a long time ago.
Yeah. And he is the goodest and handsomest of boys and the first dog in my life that I have truly loved. And I am going to be shattered whenever he is no longer with us. But he has so many good years of life left. Like, it's fine.
I can attest to all of those things. Yogi is the goodest and bestest boy in the whole world. And I would also argue that you sort of have a third being living in your house and not the ghost.
Yeah.
You also have a ghost.
I also have a ghost.
Not that you have to talk about the third being, but I would argue there's a third being.
There is a third being. It's a solid point. And I think at this point we've joked about it on some episodes before, but I am expecting. So there is I'm bone forging currently.
I love that term.
Currently pregnant with my soon to be daughter, and sometime this year she will join our household as her own separate entity.
And then she will actually be her own entity.
Yes.
I love the term I'm expecting. And when people say like expecting what, like for the gender, I have no interest in having kids, but if I ever choose to, and someone asks me expecting what, I'm going to say, well, I'm expecting a human, but it could be a lizard.
There's no way to know. It could be a shapeshifter. We're not really sure.
A flesh pedestrian.
Yeah, we affectionately refer to her as our flesh puppy because Yogi is our fur baby.
Oh my God, I've never heard that and I love that so much. Our flesh puppy. Oh my God.
Yeah, so later this year we'll have a fur baby and a flesh puppy, and hopefully they get along.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
You're welcome. So let's get into more questions about you and me. What's your biggest pet peeve?
I fucking hate being interrupted. I hate it. Okay, but I have to clarify because like I will get excited and I will interrupt. Like I'm sure on this podcast you've heard me interrupt. It doesn't matter. If we are on the same topic and like we're in the middle of a conversation and you interrupt me to add to my point, that doesn't bother me. I don't like being interrupted when it's like, I'm just going to change the subject. Like you just weren't even speaking. That makes me want to punch people's face.
I would also argue that even if it's on the same topic and if that person has already annoyed you by doing something else, it doesn't matter what they have to say.
No, I don't give a shit. Because you've seen me be like, I was speaking.
Right. I've heard you say I was speaking.
I've tried to work on that because otherwise I'll just fume silently. The other thing I do that's really passive aggressive, because I have a coworker who does this to me all the goddamn time. I won't even pause what I'm saying and I will just gradually increase my volume.
I like that.
But unfortunately for this coworker, I don't think they get the social cues because like they will just keep going. Like for 45 seconds, we will just be like yelling at each other.
Oh my God.
So
that's so toxic.
Yeah, so it's not as effective, but the whole like I was speaking.
Yeah. I haven't come up with a good like rebuttal for when people interrupt me, but I have started trying to set the example like professionally or even like personally. If somebody like is interrupted in an inappropriate way, I'll let the person finish talking who interrupted, and I won't acknowledge what they say, and I'll just look at the other person and say, or like call their name and be like, you were saying something. Will you finish your thought?
Oh, I think you've done that, not to me, but like for me. And yeah, I never noticed.
I have.
Or like I noticed, but like I didn't think about it as that is brilliant.
Because it's like, especially in the professional setting, right? Like my job is to make people better leaders, and you cannot do that shit. Like that is so fucking rude. And it's sometimes like people with ADHD sometimes exhibit this a lot. Not that seemed contradictory. Sometimes when you have ADHD, this might be something that you do a lot, right? Like you interrupt people and you don't even like realize it.
Yes.
But you got to coach that out. Like it is something that you have control over.
It is. It is a behavior that you can learn because like, and I've heard people say that too. Like I have ADHD and this is why I do it. Fine. That's not an excuse though, because we have a shared human who was like, well, I can't control it because I have ADHD. Okay. Right. I can be a bitch, but I'm not punching you in the face.
Right. I don't like people, but I get over it to do my fucking job and live my life.
Like you just learn. You can learn. It's fine.
It's like you took the first step to have awareness and then you didn't take it further.
Which makes it worse, actually, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
What about you?
My biggest pet peeve is kind of tangential after we landed that conversation. It's weaponized incompetence.
Yes. Yes.
And it can come in so many ways. Like, even like the most innocuous that I don't know, most people couch as weaponized incompetence is like when you're driving and somebody is very clearly not driving well. Like, you're weaponizing your incompetence, and worse, you're behind like a 1+ ton vehicle while doing it.
Yes. Oh, I'm just like a 90-year-old dog drinking a smoothie and playing on my phone.
Right. Like, oh, I have, I don't know how to drive well, so I'm not gonna. Like, okay. But like,
I hate that.
of course, the classic example is in, sorry for any male listeners, but the male context, right? Like, we have, my husband and I have a friend, and they have a partner who comes over. He's male. And every time we like host them for dinner or like whatever, we'll all like get to our tasks like in the kitchen, like whether it's cleaning up or plating or whatever, making cocktails. And he'll stand there like arms akimbo and be like, what can I do? And I'm like, brother, it's a kitchen. It's a meal. Have you never done this before?
You've done it here before.
Right. Like, grab a towel and stand by the right of the person doing the dishes, or like wipe the counters down, or don't say it at all.
Or just sit down and do nothing. Like,
right. You're a guest in my house. You don't have to, but don't make me manage your time.
no, don't make me tell you what to do. Like, and it's one thing, like, I'll ask what I can do to help, like, if I come to someone's house and they're, like, in the middle of cooking. So I don't want to be like, I'm a helper. Like, then I'll ask, like, can I do anything? But if it's, like, a sequence of events that we've done before.
Right.
Or, like, the end of a meal, like, when the host stands up and starts clearing the table, like, I, too, can pick up a plate. Like, I don't need to ask for direction.
Yeah. It's just, like, the take responsibility for your own actions. Because, like, it can also manifest in the, well, I didn't know excuse, or I wasn't sure excuse. And it's like, okay, that's worse. Just make a decision and we'll talk about it if it was the wrong decision.
Yes. Make a decision. Make a decision.
Make a goddamn decision.
Any pet peeves for yourself? How do you annoy yourself?
So I annoy myself by just typically seeing things that I know need to get done and not doing them, which is like the procrastination side of my executive dysfunction.
Yes.
But like one of the things that I do pretty consistently, and it's compounded by the fact that my partner and I have the same problem.
Oh no.
Which is I don't put clothes away. So like our laundry room constantly has clean folded clothes on top of the washer and the dryer, and they don't get put away, despite the fact that it's right next door to our closet.
It's attached to your closet.
Right. Or like we have this shelf in our bathroom that is wide enough for you to like put clothes on. And I'll start out by like, that's just where my pajamas go.
Yeah.
But then of course it escalates from there. Like maybe we came home because we went out and like the clothes that we wore were not dirty, but we didn't want to put them away immediately because we're tired.
Yeah,
and then it's just this mountain of clothing like right there in this one particular spot. Yeah.
That is so funny to me because like you are one of the like most organized and like clean people I know. So it's so funny that like that is the problem.
I mean, so that's why like I think it's where my inner like brain turmoil manifests, because like I don't have clothes on the floor. I don't have like the laundry gets to the laundry basket, right? Like all of that stuff. Rarely we'll have like it's cold out now, so we'll have like a jacket that like ends up in the kitchen, but eventually that'll move back to the hall closet or like back into its place, right? So like it's not bad, it's just those two particular spots, like the laundry room and the bathroom, and like that's it.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
What about you? What do you do to annoy yourself?
Okay, so mine is I think it's less pervasive than yours, but now I'm thinking about like my lack of cleanliness annoys myself. But what came to my head originally was I do this thing where I'll like take a piece of hair and I will like wrap it around 2 fingers and literally just like tie it in a knot.
Oh my God.
And that's fine if you do like 1 or 2 knots, but sometimes I'll do like a lot of knots. And if it's a big piece of hair, you can just like pull it out. sometimes I'll do it with like really thin pieces of hair, and then I just have to like rip the knot out. And
Oh
it
my
makes
God.
me really sad. And then my hair is like stupid because I do it like right in front of my face. So then I have
Yep.
like this stupid like tuft of hair because I had to like rip the knot out because there was no untangling it. Every time I'm like, why do I do this? Why do I do this to myself?
That is, wow, that is something.
It's so weird. It's so
I've
weird.
seen you do that, and I'm like if I did that to my hair, one knot would be a problem. But your hair is so like silky that like it's fine. And I'm
Yeah,
just like, how does that work?
If I use a big enough piece of hair, like it's fine. But sometimes I'll get a little risky with it and I'll use little pieces of hair and it never works.
Really taking a walk on the wild side there.
That's
the
it.
one.
That's the one. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I do it. It's not even like an anxiety thing. It's like a boredom thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so the boredom thing, or like this is kind of an anxiety thing. Like I'll flay my fingertips unless they're painted.
Yes.
Yeah. And so now they're painted and I haven't flayed them, which is great.
That is, I really need to paint mine because, I mean, I bite my nails anyway. And so usually I keep my nails painted because I don't bite them. But in recent events, I have not had the time nor energy to paint my nails. And I have bitten them down to like the quick. Like not all of them, but like this one, like, you know, when you break a nail and it's low enough that like it's like sensitive and it feels
Yep.
stupid and weird. That's how it feels. And it's driving me insane.
Oh, I hate
But
that.
now I don't want to paint it because it's going to look stupid and stubby.
Well, you just got to paint it like a dark color.
You think a dark color?
I personally, I like the way that dark colors look on short nails. I mean, I like the way that dark colors look on all nails, but
I do like dark colors. That's probably what I need to do, and not like flesh colored.
yeah, not flesh colored. Don't do that.
But I need to do something because it's a problem.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna change up the order here a little bit. So let's go into what is your biggest / weirdest fear.
Okay, so I have my answer to this has been the same for probably decades. Actually, at least since I started driving, I've had this fear. So, what is not a weird fear is that I am terribly afraid of spiders. However, I am particularly afraid that a spider is going to crawl into my car AC vent, lay eggs. They're going to hatch, and I'm going to turn on my AC, and spiderlings are going to fly out into my face when I'm like going 90 on the highway.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I think about that daily.
Wow, that is awful.
I know. It's so scary. I would die. I would just die.
I think you would probably die. You would have a heart attack and die
Yeah, immediate.
because you would scream and then they would get in your mouth.
And then that would be worse. And then
Yeah.
it's either like I'm either going to die of choking on spiders, or I'm just going to drive into oncoming traffic or a tree, and I might as well do that and just end the misery.
Wow.
One time, I saw a spider in my car, and this was like summer when I was in college, and I straight up just didn't drive my car for like 3 weeks.
I
was like-
walk everywhere.
I was like, this is yours now. It's fine.
You have claimed it, and I respect that.
And eventually I was like, okay, it's hot enough in Florida that spider must be dead. So
Yes. If it can bake a cookie or fry an egg, it's probably gonna kill the spider.
yes. And then I told someone my fear once, and they were like, oh, we'll just turn on the heater and it'll like cook the babies. I'm like, no, it won't, because they're still gonna fly out at my face.
Yeah. I mean, but if you could turn on the AC so that it's on your feet, and then your feet would just be covered. It wouldn't be on your face.
Oh my god, that's almost worse. Oh, I can like feel them like crawling up my legs.
Okay, so maybe don't do that.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna hope it never happens.
Yeah, that's an irrational fear. It's not gonna happen.
It's irrational. What about you?
I have two. So one of them is just generally like the thing that would make me die instantly is if I was just dropped into the middle of the ocean somewhere.
Oh no, your heart would stop.
I hate deep water. I don't even, I'm a strong swimmer. Like I love going to the beach. I love swimming in a pool. I hate deep water. The idea of scuba diving to me makes me want to crawl my skin off. Like I can't do it. Can't do it. But then the other kind of, so like there's no set of circumstances where I would ever be dropped into the middle of the ocean. So that's kind of just weird. But it often manifests in ways. Like when I'm up high, I get a very particular type of vertigo where I am convinced that I'm going to get sucked into the sky.
Really?
And then flung somewhere and dropped. And so, especially like on a cruise ship or like the top of the rock in New York City, like close to the ocean, like I'm going to get sucked into the sky and then flung out into the ocean and dropped there.
That's so scary.
Yeah. And sometimes depending on the day, like if I'm laying, this hardly ever happens, but like if I'm laying like on the ground outside and I just look straight ahead and it's a cloudless day and it's just like that blue sky, I get the same feeling. It's not pleasant.
I've never heard, I mean, I've heard of like the deep water fear, but I've never heard of anyone being afraid of like being sucked into the sky. And that sounds so scary.
It's visceral, and I feel it like in my chest, like almost like the sky is urging me towards the ledge so that it can grab me. It's very bizarre.
But it actually kind of makes sense because like the fear of deep water, I feel like fear of like, not that you're afraid of the sky, but like it's almost like the same fear.
Right. The fear of like, that is a bottomless pit, essentially.
Yeah, and I'm just going to like fall into it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's the same kind of like stomach dropping fear.
I hate that.
Yeah, same.
Next time we're like at the pool, that's all I'm going to think about.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So yeah, that's my biggest and weirdest fear.
That is so weird. And so scary.
Yeah. And it used to there was a period of time where it was manifesting on planes.
Well, I was going to ask about that because like when you said like I'm unlikely to be dropped into water, I'm like, oh, unless the plane broke apart.
Yeah. I was deathly afraid that like, or convinced that every time I or like James got on a plane, that plane would crash.
That's so scary.
Yeah. Not okay. That has left me now, thankfully.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
So glad.
Next question. Where would you like to visit?
I want to go to Thailand. It's always been my number one place. I really want to go to there. I want to go see the elephants.
I remember you wanting to do that like even back in high school.
Yeah, it's always been like my number one like bucket list destination is Thailand.
Nice. Would you still go to like volunteer at like the elephant shelters?
Yeah, I love the elephants.
Yeah, what's not to love?
I know, they're just amazing. What about you? You've been so many places. Do you have a place that you haven't been that you want to go? Or return?
So I would love to go back to several places like in Europe that I've been to, but similar to yours, I want to do a tour of Asia. Like James and I have talked about this frequently of like just taking a month off and doing the flight over there because it's fucking brutal. Oh, yeah. And then going and hitting like Japan and South Korea and Hong Kong and then like hopping over to Australia, New Zealand.
Oh yeah, 'cause you're already there.
Right, exactly. And then you only have to do the flight one time.
That's a really good idea, and you should do that. And if you do, I will come live in your house for a month. Make sure she goes to school and eats. And I know, right? I'm just really gonna fall on that sword there.
Yeah, look, someone's got to do it, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, someone's got to do it. It's fine. If you could have a superpower, what would you want to have?
So I don't know. So this starts getting into the territory of questions that are difficult for me to answer because it requires like a lot of willful suspension of disbelief. And as we've covered, I'm a very literal person.
Yes.
So, like the superpowers like invisibility or like mind reading or flying, like don't really interest me so much for one reason or another. Flying is just way too conspicuous, and we've talked about my fear of the sky, so
it's a terrible idea for you.
It's not gonna work. But I think that my superpower would be persuasion.
Ooh.
Like if I had the ability to persuade anybody to see and agree with my point of view, not mind control. I don't want complete control over this person.
They still have free will.
Right. If I could convince people to think like me, like at will, that would be pretty rad.
That would be really rad.
What about you? What would be your superpower?
So I think flying is stupid, but I would like to be able to just teleport. Like, just like
Ooh, that's a good one.
be somewhere else. Like, because if I could just like be in your house right now and then like I could come home to my house for work, like
Yeah.
that would be great. Like go wherever. But I have always been intrigued by like mind reading,
Mm-hmm.
mainly because I think that I just have overarching suspicion of anyone's motives and I want to like fact check them.
Yeah.
But I want it to be on demand. Like I don't want like a Sookie Stackhouse where like I could just hear everyone's thoughts all the fucking time. I want it to be like I have to actively choose to like read your mind.
Yeah. Like you have to like focus on that person.
Yeah, or like for example in Chasm, which we haven't recorded yet, but where like she can read the minds of people who are thinking about her.
Right. When
Like-
they're near her. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think that would be cool.
Yeah, I agree. That would be really cool. All right. So that was the About Us section. And that was an hour.
That was an hour. Wow. Got a
I
lot to
feel
say.
like,
Should we do like parts of this?
yeah, maybe we should do like parts.
I feel like yeah, because otherwise this is gonna be like a 3-hour interview, and no one wants to listen to that.
Exactly. Okay, then we will end it there for today and pick up the back half of our interview in 2 weeks. Thank you for going on this journey with us, as always, especially those of you listening every week. We really do appreciate your support, and we hope that you enjoyed listening to these interviews as much as we did recording them. So until next time, we'll see ya. Bye.